Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. I feel like we've made it to the end of the month. It has been, it's been speedy. Everything has felt so fast to me in this year, but we're still here, and I'm still committed to this being the transition area. This will be a space where we can decompress and not be distracted. We aren't turning a blind eye again to reality, but we are choosing not to let it drain our battery. We will control the controllables. We can't fix the whole world at once, but we can control our effort, our kindness, and our community. And this will be a place where we can fuel the fire. I am here to provide information that will help you cross your personal finish lines, regardless of what may be happening on the sidelines. And my goal is to provide joyful, insightful content that will make you want to keep trying, even when the world feels chaotic. And with that said, I am here with another guest in whom I saw racing. And as a woman of color who's been in the sport for a while, I'm always excited when I see other people of color, other Black folks out there racing, because one, we are truly a minority in this sport. But when there's people who are excelling, that just is like, yes, more, please. The first woman I saw excel at a high level as an African-American woman, Sika Henry. And we know Max Fennell is the first African-American male professional in the sport. But there's this other gentleman who I'm telling you is very close and has only been in sports since 2022. Some people enter the world through curiosity, others through competition, and some through their quiet desire to want to test their own limits. This person represents thoughtful endurance. They are a 2025 graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, where he brings intellectual rigor and athletic commitment together in one lane. He understands that triathlon is both a physical puzzle and a mental one. It demands strategy, discipline, and adaptability. What excites me about his presence right here today on Try Beginner's Luck is that he represents a generation of athletes who are building excellence intentionally. He has walked the halls of an Ivy League institution and has chosen to step into the start lines that demands humility, presence, and grit. And as we know, triathlon doesn't care where you went to school. It asks the same question of us all. Who are you when it gets hard? His journey reminds us of achievement is not just about accolades. It's about resilience. It's about showing up prepared, even when the outcome is uncertain. Today, we'll get to hear how his academic path intersects with endurance sport, what triathlon has taught him about discipline and identity, and how he defines success both on and off the course. I don't know about you, but if you've seen him race in the Northeast Corridor, you know exactly who I'm about to introduce and welcome into this podcast. And I am excited with the pleasure to introduce to this audience, Mr. Andrew Gray. Welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. How you doing?
I'm a bit tired, but I'm feeling excited now that I'm the last guest of this month.
You are. And I know that this has been a long day at work because you are a recent graduate, but you're also working in New York, and this is the end of the day on a Friday. So although we're recording it on a Friday, we don't have to say when because people don't need to know when we're recording it, but it is a Friday. And so I am thankful for you being here, even though this will air on Wednesday. So you have a pretty high powered job.
Yeah, so my
And we don't have
job,
to
I'm
talk
a
in detail about it, but let's just say you're in the banking industry and you can tell us as much as you feel comfortable sharing with us.
yeah, of course. I mean, I work in sales and trading. So right now I'm working on a precious metals trading desk. So precious metals are gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. And our job is to just act as a market maker for, clients looking to trade in those metals. Definitely really interesting product, I would say. And it does require a lot of hours. Typically, I wake up around 4 a.m. to start training, and then I go to work around 6:30, then finish around 5 o'clock for another training session. So my entire day is pretty high powered, but I'm here for it.
Mm. Wake up at 4, get your good training in, head to work, back home to train again. You aren't just, my brain is moving fast because I'm really excited. You aren't just an average athlete, you are truly an elite. And I'm curious because you entered the sport in 2022, but you've come very close to breaking tapes at Ironman races. Let's talk about that because I know you are the state champion in the sprint, I believe, or I believe you are the state champion in the sprint in New Jersey. I don't recall which years, but the New Jersey state champion in the sprint.
Correct. I was a New Jersey state champion last year in the sprint, and I'm actually New Jersey state champion in the Olympic this year. I didn't do the sprint this year, so
Okay, champion. Okay. I love it. So the Olympic this year and the sprint in the previous year, and you just entered the sport in 2022, and we're just at the top of 2026. Tell us about this progression and how did you it I know it's not instant, but it feels that way because of the short time frame you've been in sport. So how did this come about?
well, I can start from the beginning. So I have no real background in endurance sport. I was a basketball player and a tennis player, primarily in high school, mostly tennis. I ran two non-consecutive years of cross country, and I was very bad for one of them. I think my fastest time that year was a 2010 in a 5K. And then senior year during COVID, I was really committed to doing well for my last cross country season. So I just told myself that April that I would just run as much as I could to become very good, so that when cross country season would come around in September, that I could perform at the best I could. And that year I did quite well in cross country. But eventually I got pretty burnt out after doing that for about 9 months, and I decided to pick up a bit of cycling. Nothing crazy, like I had a steel bike that was very slow. Wasn't even a road bike really. Um, but I just told myself like, oh, I'm biking, I'm running, might as well add a little bit of swimming to that. And so my first year of college, I trained just enough to do two triathlons the summer of 2022, and the first race went quite bad. Uh, bad for me. I think it was a small sprint distance, and I finished like 18th. Just because I was not used to. I didn't own a tri suit. I didn't have any like good aero gear. Um, and I didn't really understand transition, so I would just have really long transitions. But after I kind of got all those things settled, I did my second triathlon that year and another small sprint distance one, and I finished second in that one. And I was like, oh, I can actually be good at this. So after that, I was just fully committed, and I'm a guy who doesn't really just half-heartedly do things. When I do something, I go all in, all the way, and I want to compete at the very best. I take that sort of view in all aspects of my life, and from then on, I was just really locked into training and becoming, very good. And so, at the end of the day, endurance sport is just about stacking, work on top of work. So pretty much you get out what you put in. So as long as you can stay consistent and not get injured, you can become quite good quite fast. And I figured that out quite quickly with a bit of a learning curve. And then when I brought on a coach, I mean, my fitness just blew up completely. And I always had the goal to break the tape at races. I still do. That's one of my goals for this year. And yeah, I mean, I just have the view that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to push my own limits, It's like triathlon isn't my only thing. I do lots of things. Um, so that's kind of how I'm kind of where I'm in at the sport right now.
All right. First race, you came in 18th. Sorry. I'm so sorry like that's interesting. But then you came back and you went in second. 18 is like so good for so many people. But your mindset was like, that's not good enough. And I love that for you. And I love that for what it could represent for so many people. And I know I laughed, but I didn't laugh. I was like, like I'm in awe, to be honest, because you figured out a lot of success in what some people it takes them a lifetime to figure out. And shout out to Coach Reggie Waller. For those of you that know, he's the one with the microphone sometimes at a lot of different races. So thank you. That's your coach. And he made sure that we were connected. So I just want to give Reggie a shout out for that. So I'm very grateful.
I think to be successful, you kind of have to be a bit delusional. You kind of have to believe that you can do anything, and that there's no one out there who is better than you. So that's kind of like whenever I go to a race, I'm a bit delusional that like regardless of who's on the start list, I always have a chance to win. And sometimes that's true, sometimes that's not, but it doesn't matter.
But again, it goes back to mindset. And I appreciate you stating that because the race director, and I'm thinking of his name because I see it. I see him. We were at Endurance Exchange 2023, I believe. Steve Del Monte of Delmo Sports. And he was like, to do what I do, you got to be a little bit delusional. Like, you got to be a little bit crazy. And if you've ever raced one of his races and you've met him, you know he's a little bit he's different.
I've
He's a little
experienced
different.
him once when I did 70.3 Atlantic City.
Mm,
It's my first 70.3, which I was also delusional about and thought I could win, which I definitely did not. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the view you have to take anywhere. If you're going to be successful, you have to believe that you can do anything. Even
man,
if it's not true in the moment, you got to do what you can to make it true.
that's good stuff. Like, oh, real good stuff. I'm interested to see now that you have goals of this year of breaking the tape at a race, but you have a different element that you've incorporated because you are a graduate and you are in the real, quote unquote, real world. How has that transition been for your training? You know, having to not be able to have as much flexibility as you once had while in school, and how has that had to change some of your change some of the way that you do life?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be a bit realistic, right? I see some of my friends out there who are still in college, they're in their last semester and they're training, 4 or 5 hours a day. They don't really have class. And, I'm in the office 10 hours. I get, you know, 2, 3 hours of training per day. But at the end of the day, it's about how you make it count. Um, so I think as long as the workouts are, efficient and they're focused, then you can build a lot of fitness regardless of the amount of volume. Especially for short sprint Olympic distance up to half Ironman. It doesn't the intensity of the work is really what matters. Making sure that you get consistent training is what really matters. And not just pure volume, but pure volume is extremely important. If you can have intensity and volume, you can be extremely successful. I probably won't be a pro waking up at 4 a.m. to do an hour and a half bike and then running after work after 10 hours of work. But I can be quite a good age grouper because I think there's still a lot of guys out there who are doing the same thing I am doing. Um, so as long as I think the hardest part of what I do is the mental toughness. Because if you're going to do these things, just kind of give up parts of your life to train and focus on triathlon. You have to be ready for it. You got to know that this is something you really want to do. This is something you really want to focus on, and that it's going to cost you something to do it. And I've accepted that fact. And if anyone is in the same position as me, they understand that this is a fact of life as well. So the goals of breaking the tape are still there. It's just I have to really, really fine tune how I'm going to make that a reality this time. I can't just show up to the pool at 11 a.m., go for a run at 3 o'clock, get, 10 hours of sleep. Those were the good days. But now it's about everything is on the margin. Everything has to be in line to the T, make sure I get everything in. And if it's not, then, it could negatively impact, something else like sleep or recovery. So it's very, very important to be on top of everything at this point in my life.
I love it. You have to those that prioritizing and figuring out your scheduling is definitely important. You made a comment about not being a pro, but is being a pro something that you wouldn't mind becoming if it happened? And if so, to the point of sacrificing and giving up something, what are you willing to give up to potentially do that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Because the cost benefit analysis would say it's probably not worth it to become a pro. At this point in the sport, it's developing at a rapid pace. You're just seeing the level bump up significantly each year as there's just more interest, like crossover from ex D1 athletes into the sport or just more professionalism in the sport of triathlon. So the gap between being an age grouper and being a pro like full time and being, somewhat successful is just widening and widening. So, if I'm competing against someone whose full-time job is to wake up, swim, bike, run, eat, sleep, do the same thing all over again. I mean, there's no world where I'm competitive. But if I want to be a pro to say, ah, yes, I raced a pro race and I have a pro card and I did it for 2 years and I can say I did this thing, then I mean that's fine, I guess. And that's probably like the direction that if I were to become a pro is like where I would end up because I don't see a world where I can balance both working insane hours and training to a level that is respectable at the pro in a pro field. So, I think those pro dreams as of right now are just kind of on the back seat. But my age group dreams to win some of these races are definitely alive and well.
I like that. I like that perspective and how you're thinking about it. And if I know, or at least from what I've heard from you, when you do something, you do it. So even when you do get your pro card, you will find a way to do it and excel in that particular category, whichever it is. But as an age grouper, an elite age grouper, I do believe you will excel in that too. And so I'm just really excited to see that you are excelling. Now, what I didn't get to ask you a question about is you mentioned that you were burnt out from running and then you added cycling on just to generally cycle. You got to college and you added swimming. Did you just already know how to swim or did you have to learn how to swim? Well, obviously, you knew something about swimming because you don't just come out of and I can't even get it. You don't just come out and get 18th in your first race and not know how to swim. So, did you grow up swimming in your youth? That's the better question.
Yeah, I mean, I swam as a young kid, but very young. I was maybe 8, 9. But for swimming, it's important to start early because your body develops um, for efficiency in the water. So lucky for me, I'm not a true, swimming adult. I had, time on a swim team as a young kid, so I already knew what sort of form I needed to have to like, swim fine, but I'm not a swimmer by any means. Um, and I think my swim times kind of show that, especially when you look at any real swimmers. It's probably what holds me back the most at this point, outside of the bike and run. The swim is just a very, very complicated aspect of the sport, I would say, because it doesn't, unlike the other two, when in cycling and in running, the amount of intensity you do will, correlate with the how well or how good you can get in that discipline. It's not the same for swimming because you could, be pushing as hard as you can in the water and not be going that fast at all because your body is just not efficient in the water. It's not used to propelling itself through a liquid object that, has some sort of drag on your body. Whereas a real swimmer will, be used to that drag and be able to form their body in ways that someone who's older just can't do. Like my shoulder mobility will just never be as good as someone who's, swam for even up until high school, maybe. Like there's certain things that just make swimming significantly more complicated, even if I had like experience as a kid, that creates problems for me today. So I've put in a lot of work in the swim and I'm starting to see some results, but if I were to stop, those results would undoubtedly go away quite quickly just because my body is not super accustomed to swimming through the water as some others might be.
Hmm, interesting. Um, I'm curious. So you swam while you were young. Let me tell you how much of a gift that is. To learn and to be on a swim team when you're young is a true gift, especially um, did were you on the swim team as a result of being in swim lessons and that was the next thing, or did you want to be on the swim team when you were younger and then you stopped? I want to understand your relationship with swimming because you were on the swim team and you came back to it, but you understand the fundamentals. And so coming from so I swam on the swim team when I was younger as well, and I don't think I realized how much of a gift it was until I was well in my late 20s. That not everybody knows how to swim, and that was an area or a blind spot for me because I just thought it was normal. And so I'm curious as to how did swimming come into your life to even be on a swim team?
Yeah, I mean, I used to take swim lessons as a young kid, maybe 5, 6. I feel like I've known how to swim since for pretty long time. I don't remember a period where I didn't know how to swim, and it was just the next progression in my swimming quote unquote career to be on the swim team. But you have to understand that being on a swim team is quite expensive and quite cost prohibitive, and to be very and to be in it for many years, like you have to do the analysis that it'll be worth it in the end. So if your goal is to go to college, is to get into college through a swim scholarship, then and you're committed to that and you're good enough to be able to do that or gifted enough to be able to do that, then the cost benefit analysis is quite easy there. It's significantly cheaper to pay for, 10 to 14 swim lessons every week for years until your kid is old enough to go to college and not have to pay tuition because of how expensive college is. If the idea is just, oh, I like to swim and this is something I like to do and it's fun, then it doesn't make as much sense. And I think as a young kid, you don't quite know if this is like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this forever. Like I'm going to try and get into college with this. It's more like, it's quite expensive to do right now. Like maybe he'll fall in love with another sport is kind of just how my swimming, quote unquote career ended. And then I just took up other sports. So, I mean, yeah, swimming for sure is a privilege, especially the more inland you live. I mean, I'm lucky enough to live you know, close to the water, but yeah, it's definitely an asset to have and important to learn as a kid.
I've never thought about the cost of swimming alone. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, if you go into a swim club, I think, I, especially if you're doing it year round, I never thought about it that way. Like all the different costs from excuse me, all the different costs, especially like swim meets, swim clubs, paying the dues. I did not think about that. So thank you for allowing me to put some perspective around that privilege, Mr. Gray. I appreciate that. And your parents, and the way you said it, it was so like so they thought, or it would have been a good, they tried to redirect your career, your swimming career. Like, so let's think about some other things. What else can we put you in that's not as expensive? Ah, I love that. I love that. Like, you're bringing some things back to my mind from like being younger, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is why this happened. I'm telling you, it's not until you talk to people that you really understand some things. You be like, oh, maybe this is why. Well, with that, you redirected into basketball. And is that where your competitive edge really began to be honed?
No, I was actually terrible at basketball. I was horrendous. I have terrible hand-eye coordination. I can't really shoot. And I was a bit of a liability on offense, but I was pretty good at defense. I think my competitive spirit definitely comes more from the academic side. Um, I was very competitive academically, and that just is a bit of a spillover into sports. Regardless of how bad I was, I always tried to be good, but I lacked the the physical capabilities to be particularly good at basketball, and even for that instance, like tennis. Um, still not. I put a lot of time into tennis, a lot of time into tennis, and I was still not very good. And I kind of at a certain point, you have to accept that you cannot be good at everything. You just have to figure out what you're good at and then focus on it. So I was reasonable enough to determine that, okay, basketball and tennis are not very good for me, but I was very good at cross country for this 1 year. Maybe it's something that I should stick with. And I think it's quite hard for a lot of people to kind of reach that conclusion. But for me, it was quite easy because if you have the competitive spirit and you also have the talent, then you found something that you can excel at. And so if you can be at the top of a sport, uh, then I mean, if I can be at the top of the sport, I'm going to push that for as far as I can and see where it takes me. Same thing in other aspects of life as well, particularly academically.
Well, there's that, ladies and gentlemen. But I think you took me out when you said that you were quite a liability, because that's usually not the case. But thank you for being honest and transparent. When you think about triathlon today and thinking about your athletic, I don't want to say inability with tennis and basketball, but you thrived in cross country and now you are really having some significant strides and thriving in triathlon. What do your parents say about your how you've excelled in triathlon? Or do they have any comments about it? Or do they just think this is another hobby?
I don't know if they're always like, oh yeah, that's great that you're doing triathlon, but make sure you keep your job. Just make sure make sure you're always studying and make sure you're always going to have a good job. And don't drown in the swim. That's always what they tell me. Other than that, they're like, oh, you got you did well in your race this weekend. That's really cool. And that's about it. And but my parents, they do love to come to my races. Uh so I think the support is there, but I think yeah, that's that's about as far as it goes. I think they just enjoy watching it, Any parents, they love to support their kids regardless of their, you know, crazy endeavors. They've supported me through my bad basketball and tennis years. So I think they're happy that I found something that I was good at in the end and still have a good job and still graduated well.
You checked all the boxes. You left no box unturned or unchecked. Penn is where you were on the Penn Club team for triathlon. I happened to see on one of your posts you were coming across the finish line, and it was as if you were retiring from this season of life. Like retiring. Okay, great. What was that like for you going through that finish line tape or finish line for the last time as a collegiate athlete? And now when you come, have you raced not being in college yet, or will that be your first year this year, racing not being in a collegiate environment?
Well, I always like to make the joke every race that it's going to be my last race because I just have like, oh, my life is so busy, I should just retire at the end of this race. Like, so that was kind of the joke there where I told all my friends, yeah, after this race, this collegiate club championship, I'm going to retire from triathlon. This is my last year as a triathlete, and I'm going to hand in my bike and my running shoes and live a pedestrian life once again. But no, it's more tongue in cheek. That was not my last triathlon race. It was my last collegiate race, but I ended up joining Roka Standard Racing, which is one of the elite age group, and they have some pros, triathlon team in the US, and they've been very supportive. And since then, I've had some very good success at some races, namely Happy Valley and Muscle Man, as well as Challenge New Jersey. And I'm going to continue racing this year, but this year might actually be my last year racing, just because the stress on the body is pretty heavy, um, and it's a quite hard to sustain long term. It's definitely possible, but it's always a challenge, and it is a sacrifice as well. You don't get to hang out with, you don't get to really go out or see your friends often because you got to bike after work or bike on the weekends or go for a run or go to a race. So, there's a lot that goes into why I stay or why I go. But if I could just stay in the sport and not retire and still compete at the top level, then that would be ideal. But it's quite a hard choice, I would say.
Well, I'm going to root that everything will align so that you can stay at a competitive level. Because I was just thinking, well, you could just try to try, but I'm like, that's not in your genes, that's not in your wheelhouse to just go out there and try. But I am going to hope that you are able to maintain a good job, do your job well, and still train and compete. And maybe there's something that will work so that you can do this until you don't choose to do it anymore. With that, I want to get into this Roka. You call it the Roka Standard.
Roka Standard Racing. They used to be Everyman Jack. Now they have a
Oh
new title sponsor.
yeah. Nice. So, what makes that team special, and how has that helped you in your endeavors? Because not everyone gets to be a part of an elite team like that. So, can you take us into the take us into that world a little bit to tell us what that is about, and give us more details?
I mean, it's just important to be surrounded by like-minded people in the sport. I think a lot of the guys on the Roka Standard team are just as driven to be successful in all aspects of life, as well as triathlon. Some of the most successful guys I know are on the team. They work here as well in New York, too, well, at least some of them. Um, and it's important to be surrounded by people that'll push you as well. You see these guys on Strava and they're doing 80-mile bike rides with real legit pros, and you're like, wow, I have to race this guy next week. It's going to be hard. So it's really, really important to foster your environment with people that'll push you to the limit. And that's kind of how I got into Roka. I had seen all of the Everyman Jack guys doing just really good at all these races and went, I want to be around people like that. So I joined their team and it's been really great ever since. Everyone, we all go to races together. If you're in the same area, you might train together with some of the guys, and it's just a really great experience to be on the team.
So, these are some of the guys that you train with. You're around like-minded people. You guys push each other. You train together. Has it ever come to a head or in a way where I want to frame this right? Like you're friends, but when you get to the start line, like how does that impact your relationship?
On the start line, I mean, we're all competitors.
Okay.
There is no one's being a domestique on the bike for a teammate. That's not a we're all there to win. Like this year, a bunch of guys went to the USA Nationals race, and one of our guys got first place, but they're all competing for the win there. They're not just going to do just be at the race with everyone. Everyone, whenever you see a group of Everyman Jack guys or Roka Standard Racing guys on the list, it's because they're all there to see, you know, well, one, they're there for the team, but two, they're there to see like, oh, how well do we stack up against each other? How well do we stack up against everyone else? And I mean, everyone loves healthy competition. It's great to race with your friends at the end of the day. Um, So I think it's just a really, really cool team to be on, a really, really great environment. And some people, if you see a lot of guys if you see a lot of Roka Standard Racing guys on the start list, you might duck the race. But yeah, we yeah,
So are you referencing USA Triathlon Age Group Nationals from this year?
yeah,
Jacob is a everyman Jack person?
yeah.
Shut up. Oh, because he did. He actually won by a lot of time, like significant amount of time. Now, have you ever participated in the age group nationals?
No, but my plan is to go this year.
Awesome.
It's my A
Awesome.
race actually. It's the race I'm preparing for only.
Taking a deep gulp. Excuse me. Okay. Well, I'm excited for you. Are you doing the Olympic or the sprint?
Both.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that is wonderful. I hear some other plans in that that I will keep to myself, but I like the way that sounds. I like the way I am here for that. 100p, as they say. I am definitely here for that. Mm. What would you tell? Now, this could be interesting. What would you tell a younger version of yourself who believed achievement is was everything? Now being able to you graduated from college, you're in your first year after college of working a good job, you have excelled at triathlon. What would you tell, say, your 8-year-old self about achievement?
I mean, a lot of things, but I think the number one thing would be find something that you're good at and then push it to the limit. See how far it takes you. Focus on it, become as good at it as you possibly can, and just push, just push, just push, just push. Because if you become exceptional at one thing, then maybe it can take you very, very far. And if you're very good at a lot of things, it can take you very, very far.
Mm.
So I think I wouldn't say I learned that late, but it became quite obvious to me that if you have focus in your life, you can become quite successful at the things you're passionate about. I think a lot of people they lack like the focus and they get spread too thin and that they just kind of lose steam in the end. But if you really just understand your first you got to understand yourself and then you got to focus on, you know, being good at what you're good at. And that's what I would tell my young 8-year-old self. And I would also say, please convince your parents to keep you in swimming so you can be good in 15 years. But yeah, definitely push yourself to the limit. As humans, we don't uh have limits really. But or it's you if you push yourself hard enough, it'll be very hard to find your limit.
It's very interesting that you say that. I have been exploring what that looks like with this a group that I'm working with, and relearning what it's like to have healthy discomfort and explore what that feels like. And I think that it's a good framework and ideology that you've just shared, and very helpful in experiencing that we don't truly have limits. And I think that's important, but sometimes we can put limiters on ourselves, which creates those constructs in our mind and the boundary bands. I want to now ask you a more futuristic question. 10 years from now, what would you have wanted to master, whether it's in your craft, your career, or just yourself?
Time management. I'm quite good at it, but it's always hard to fit everything into a day. You know, sometimes I wish there were 30 hours in a day for the amount of things that I wanna do. Um, and to always stay focused. I think it's easy, especially here in New York, to get distracted. There's a lot of, you know, pushes and pulls in every direction. And even I still struggle with it. It's very, very difficult to just stay focused on your list of priorities. Uh, but if I'd imagine if I met 30-year-old me and he was doing quite well, then I listened to my own advice. And if he's doing quite bad, I did not listen to my own advice, and I should listen to my advice.
Well, you'll have this podcast to play to yourself every so often to just check in to see where you are in that 10-year time frame.
Yeah, I have to turn this into my alarm every morning. Stay focused. Stay
Stay
focused.
focused. Absolutely. And talking about focus, when you mentioned, that in New York it's really quite challenging, what popped up for me is the discipline part. And so, what guardrails do you have in place to help your discipline in order to keep you focused?
Guardrails. I mean, I'm an adult. I have to set my own guardrails.
Oh,
It's
that's
quite hard. At the end of the day, there's no true guardrails. It's just about what you prioritize. Some weeks or some days you just maybe want to break, and maybe I choose to go out after work. Um, but most of the time it's about staying focused. Like seeing the bigger picture is important, but allowing your mind to let go every once in a while is also important because otherwise you end up, burnt out. And I think a lot of people go too hard one way, too hard the other way, and struggle, like really, really struggle in the long term. So not being so rigid in your ways is always important. Allowing some flexibility in your schedule because not everything is going to go your way is important. But having your general compass set to your goals and, you know, implementing systems to make sure in general that is the direction you're headed to in general, you know. So I set my calendar, like I have a very structured day. And as long as the day follows the structure, then I'll fit everything I need to in that day.
so you kind of hit on my burnout question because I was going to ask you about that. But now I want to ask, where is there space for joy in competition for you? Because it seems like you do your job. Is there space for joy in competition, or is it more just the execution for you? And do you find joy in trying?
I wish I found joy in trying. I really do. I mean, I can tell you it's getting hard for me to find enjoyment as my fitness seems to slip with each race. So I started off last year very, very good. And then each race I felt just a little bit more flat until my last race at 70.3 Florida, where I just got absolutely destroyed by everybody. And at the end of the race, it just felt like maybe this is the end of my sort of competitive career. Like I finished quite far behind. I was mentally destroyed just getting off the like halfway through the bike. Just had some guy absolutely ride my legs off and had to just tell myself to make it through the run and not DNF. And that was probably one of my second, that was actually my second lowest point of my season because my first lowest point was collegiate championship in Miami in March when I had my worst race in 3 years. So it's always hard to just find joy in those moments, but as long as I feel as though I've grown from the experience and that I can still become better, then I'll always come back from, any result. Maybe one day it'll just be like it'll just be a point of acceptance where, okay, I'm not going to get the results I want anymore. What should I do next? And but that day hasn't come yet. So
Thank you for sharing. Again, we never know the why we're doing something. The guest last week, Tammy Dotson, shared that, everything that she's gone through has been so that she could help someone else. And sometimes on the way to becoming, we experience those, like, let's call them micro setbacks in order to propel us forward even more so because you go back into the workshop and you work on the things that needs to be worked on, and then you continue to improve. And then there are races, like you said, how you had one at the top of the year and one at the end of the year that are sandwiched in between some really good races, and really healthy competition. So I'm glad that you are still working out. And I hope that as you continue to do it, you do find enjoyment and joy because that will help to sustain long term. And, my goal is for you. So I need you to just figure it out, Andrew. I need you to figure it out. No, I'm just kidding. Find the joy so that you can stay in. Um, but in all reality, I think what you've been able to do in under 5 years is nothing short of incredible. And you are living a life that some people work so hard to get. And somehow it's come to you in a way that's systematically. The right frame, the right build, the right mindset. And I can just see some really great things coming. And timing is everything. Like, you know, who knows what could have happened if you stayed swimming? We don't know. But we do know that you have what you need. You have a good coach, you have good people surrounding you with the Roka Standards Racing team. And and sometimes that is just a recipe for just what we need. And little small tweaks could also inject during that period. And that's why community is so important. Speaking about community, what do you do for fun when you're not working and training? Do you turn up?
Uh, you know, I live in New York City. There's lots of things. I could do anything. I can.
Facts.
Some nights are later than others, of course.
Okay. So that's your answer. You're
That's
not
my
going to be
answer.
specific. Okay.
If you're ever here, I can give you recommendations.
Bet. Bet. I will take you up on some recommendations. Well, Andrew, thank you so much. What would you say to a beginner who might feel that they have potential, but haven't necessarily tapped into it yet? And they are maybe in high school, going into the collegiate experience. What words of wisdom would you share with them?
Go all in. Just just go all in. Because you won't regret it. If you go all in, you'll either figure out that you're really good or you'll be able to figure out that you should do something else. So you should definitely always go all in from the beginning because you'll get your answer much faster that way. If you go 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you'll never have a true understanding of your own potential. So it's always important to go all in to get the most out of the experience.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Before we go, we got some rapid fire questions that I want to ask you because we that's just what we do, a little bit of fun um, to get us started or to wrap us up, I should say. First question, since some nights in New York are longer than others, what's what's your favorite song?
What's my favorite song?
Mhm.
That's hard. I I really like Bulletproof from LaRue. If you've heard that song before, great song.
No, but I do like Bulletproof.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah. That's why I perked up. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Do you listen to music with training or silence?
I mean, music, it's crazy to sit there in silence.
Listen, don't say it's crazy. Some people work out in silence. It's a real thing. It's hard for me, but it is a real thing. Um, Outkick someone at the finish line or win wire to wire?
Outkick someone at the finish line.
Hmm. Favorite leg of the race and why?
The bike leg, uh, because I pass usually like 50 people.
Okay. Favorite place to bike?
Wharton State Forest in South Jersey, completely flat, no cars for 60 miles.
Say the name of that again for the people in the back who couldn't hear.
Wharton State Forest, it's the Pine Barrens.
Okay, that's cool. How do you decompress?
I watch Instagram post. Spend a lot of
Okay.
time on Instagram.
All right. Early attack or patient strategy?
Patient strategy.
Negative split or go out hard?
Go out hard.
Real food or gels?
Real food. I
Say
eat
more.
a lot of like just candy. Like I eat so much candy for fuel.
Really?
Yeah, typically every bike ride I'll buy 2 packs of gummy worms. It's about 1,600 calories, and it's cheaper than gels. It's about $3 compared to $40 you gotta pay for the same calories of gels. So yeah, I mean, just use food.
Hence that patient strategy. You when you said cost analysis earlier, I should have known. Like you just built different. You said cost like per gram. How much is this per this? And I love it. I'm so here for it.
My motto is I took this is a Gustav Eden quote. Limit your sugar, limit your performance. So I'm always maximizing the amount of sugar that I'm consuming per day.
Okay. A little good stuff eating on the show. Come through with the sugar quote. At the end of a race, beer, water, or soda.
Ice cold Coke,
Okay. Favorite post race meal.
donuts.
And the last question that we don't let anyone leave the podcast without asking: do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break?
I don't pee on the bike. I don't, that's crazy.
Maybe.
No, that's crazy.
Well, thank you so much. You'll be surprised what the answers are. You should go back and listen to some folks. You would be surprised. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody. This is Mr. Andrew Gray. I'm excited to see what's in your future. Thank you for coming on. We have the saying on Try Beginner's Luck. Whenever you try, you always win. And that is to be true. So if you love this podcast, you love your friends, be sure to share it with them. You want to share this with those that you love in case they're try curious or just want to be inspired by stories and just want something that's feel good to keep them motivated to keep trying to do whatever it is that they're doing in the world today and not be distracted by the chaoticness. With that said, my name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines. And for now, we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win.